Now to more details on our second leading story this morning. Algeria's electoral authority has said 23 candidates qualified for the North African countries' upcoming presidential vote on December 12th. The election will take place 8 months after former President Abdelaziz Bouteflika resigned following months of massive mass protest. The candidates must have the backing of at least 50,000 people, and the submissions ended at midnight on Saturday. So, who are the most prominent candidates? We go to speak with our correspondent, Tariq Afid now. Ruth?
Hello, Tariq. The election campaign promises to be eventful.
Merci de votre fidélité chaque fois qu'on vous joint.
And despite this, 22 candidates answered the call of the body in charge of organizing the presidential election. The determination is noticeable on both sides. On the side of the popular movement, Friday and Tuesday marches are more and more numerous in this 9th month of protest. The rejection of the presidential election is one of the most chanted slogans in the streets. For the government, there is no question of going back or postponing this presidential election. It will be held on 12th December, and the president who will leave the polls will then take charge of organizing the political transition. For the population that joins the popular movement, the conditions for holding a transparent and honest election have not been met, and none of the prerequisites that had been set out by the National Dialogue Commission have been taken into consideration. Indeed, the vast majority of opinion detainees have not been released. Political and media fields are still locked, leaving very little chance for the renewal of the political elite. This explains why of the 22 people who submitted their candidacy.
23 candidates with different personalities and, of course, different profiles. But tell us, of all of them, who do you think stands out? Who stand out from the 23 candidates?
We can say that there are two candidates who stand out from the crowd, and both of them are heads of government under Bouteflika. First, there is Abdelmajid Dubon, who was head of the Ministry of Housing for a long time before being appointed Prime Minister in 2017. Tabon, who held office for only a few weeks, presents himself as the champion of the fight against corruption. There is also Ali Ben Flis, who was head of the government from 2000 to 2003, who then became a strong opponent of Abdelaziz Bouteflika. He also ran against him during the presidential elections of 2004 and 2014. Other contenders for the Supreme Magistracy also include former Culture Minister Azadine Mahobi, who was recently appointed head of the National Democratic Rally, Islamist Abdelkader Bengrina and Abdelaziz Beldai. In this period of mistrust of the authorities in place, will the soldiers who have remained loyal since the beginning of his demonstrations change their method of holding this election on December 12th? Algeria is going through a real crisis of confidence. A large part of the population does not believe in the will of the government to hold a democratic election. The rejection of these elections is expected to be confirmed during the election campaign that will begin in a few weeks. Candidates will have difficulty organizing campaigns and holding outreach activities. On election day, the authorities should also be confronted with the issue of participation. An elected president with a low turnout will not have the legitimacy to carry out a political transition phase and undertake reforms to raise the socio-economic bar. For its part, the army is sticking to the roadmap drawn by its leader, General Ahmed Gaid Salah, to ensure that the presidential election is held at all costs.
Donc, cette feuille de route se limite à une mission essentielle, assurer coûte que coûte la tenue de l'élection présidentielle.
Thank you, Tariq Afid, for answering our questions.
On a dit d'entrer
Okay.
Bonne journée à vous en Algérie. Les différentes candidatures seront validées dimanche prochain. C'était avec Tariq Afid, notre correspondant
Tariq Hafid, our correspondent in Algeria.
Thank you very much, Tariq, there from Algiers. If you are just joining us, this is the morning call coming to you here on live here on Africanews. Please be reminded that we are coming to those on the Canalsat network in both English and in French. All you need to do is to use the blue button or the info button to change your settings to your preferred language. And also on our website, africanews.com, you can watch us live in English or in French. Still to come on the program. Without arms or legs, but that won't stop him from painting. We take you to meet with Ivorian painter Adam Traore. Plus, in the world of sports, a big win for South Africa, and even more so, a huge win for Africa as Springboks set up final clash with England after beating Wales in Rugby World Cup. Details of this plus much more after the break. Ruth and I will be right back. Don't go anywhere.